So I sleep 8 or more hours a night. I'm a busy mum of 43. I run a busy business, but I have a routine which means I sleep really well. A warm welcome to you to the Face Yoga Expert podcast. The Face Yoga Expert podcast has been going 5 years now. Can you believe it? And I'm doing something a little bit different. I am recording my solo episodes on video. So if you're listening to this where you usually listen to it, on Apple Podcasts, via my website, on any other podcast platform, it will sound exactly like it usually does. But you can now watch this on my YouTube channel. So if you're seeing this on video, I'm sure you're watching this on YouTube. So don't forget to like and subscribe on YouTube to never miss an episode. And I have been sharing my episodes with guests on YouTube for quite a long time, but never done a solo episode. So I thought, let's switch things up. We've been doing the Face Yoga Expert podcast for 5 years. So I thought it's about time I move it to my YouTube channel so you can watch it there as well as listen to it. So this week I am getting into everything to do with sleep. I really prioritize sleep. Now, I have 2 little girls, one is 8 and one is 12. Now, first of all, let me start off by telling you, I couldn't always prioritize sleep. When they were babies, when they were toddlers, and definitely still, if they're poorly or they need me for whatever reason, then I don't sleep the full 8 hours or more. But generally, I would say 99.5% of the time, they are sleeping well, they're sleeping through the night now, so it means that I can really prioritize my sleep. And let me tell you, it makes a massive difference. If I can really pinpoint one thing which makes a massive difference to my life, to my health, to my work, it's sleeping well. If I don't sleep well, then I really notice the next day how it affects my productivity, how it affects what I'm doing within my work, how it affects my motivation, how it affects my eating habits, how it affects my hydration levels, how it affects my emotions. So much. I don't feel like exercising if I haven't slept well. So it really is the foundation and the cornerstone of my health and wellness. Now, I wrote down a list before this of all the rituals and routines that I've been using over the years to help me get a good 8-hour sleep. And let me tell you something, I was a little bit surprised. I actually do quite a lot, and I don't want you to feel overwhelmed when you're listening to this podcast or watching this video and think, oh my goodness, I have to do all of these things that Danielle said in order to sleep well. Absolutely not. What I want this episode to do is really just inspire you to pick and choose a few things which intuitively resonate with you, and a few things which you think, I can actually really easily put that into my life, and that might give me an extra half an hour sleep or an extra hour sleep. Now, the amount of sleep we need varies from person to person. 8 hours is sort of the recommended amount. Some people thrive really well on 7, some people need more like 9 or 10, so it's really down to you. Now, I track my sleep on an Apple Watch. So I see exactly how much sleep I get. I see how much deep sleep I get, how much REM sleep I get, how much light sleep I get. So I can really each day start to think, okay, so what have I done during the day today? And therefore, how has that had an impact on my sleep? So because I've been doing that for probably about 18 months to 2 years now, I feel like it's the perfect time to do this podcast episode because I've really got this great routine. I wake up feeling really refreshed in the morning and I'm able to track it. So I have all that data as well. So let's get into it. I want to start off by telling you a little bit about my evening routine. Now, of course, my evening routine starts with my girls. I make sure that they do all of their bedtime routine. So bath them, make sure I settle them down to bed. And I usually make sure that I do that by about 8 p.m. in the evening. My eldest doesn't really go to sleep then, but she'll usually read or she'll listen to an audio book. but I really then have that hour or so to do all of my routine. And if I can, I will get a bath in before 8 o'clock. So usually I'll give them a bath, and then while they're sort of listening to an audiobook or they're reading to themselves, they both enjoy reading books, then sometimes I can get a bath in then. And I really love having a bath in the evening. I feel like it just gently relaxes my body. It's almost like a little bit of a spiritual cleanse as well. So I'm able just to let go of anything that I've been holding on to in the day. Plus, it's a great chance for me to do my skincare. So that's usually where I'm taking any makeup I've been wearing that day off, where I do cleansing, sometimes a double cleanse, sometimes a triple cleanse, sometimes I'll do some exfoliation. And then when I get out the bath, I usually apply some body oil, and then I'll apply my Fusion by Danielle Collins moisturizing serum. So I really have that little ritual and routine. And then I'll put pajamas on. So I've usually got pajamas on by about 8 o'clock in the evening. I then make sure I don't use my phone after 8 o'clock. So I set it to sleep mode, actually for 8:45, but usually I put it in a separate room from my bedroom, separate room from my living room downstairs, where I usually watch a little bit of TV with my husband. So actually it's away from me. I don't think about any work then. I make sure I don't do any work at all after 8 o'clock if I can help it. And I would say probably 99% of the time I don't do any at all. So I have these quite strict rules with myself, and I find that that's so important, because I feel like if I didn't have that, I could so easily just get into a habit of looking on social media and scrolling, or checking my emails, or getting back to my team about things. So generally I know if I put it in a separate room, then I can wind my mind down, but also I'm not having that blue light stimulation. Now what I do, which helps even before 8 o'clock, is I have a blue light blocker on my phone. Now it's really simple. It's just like a little sheath that you put over the front of the phone. You can't even see it at all. I've got a really good iPhone, so obviously I don't want to mess that up. But by putting this on, it's just protecting my eyes and my skin from the blue light. Now I get mine from OcuShield, and I've got a discount code for you. And the discount code is Face Yoga 15, and that's all in capital letters, Face Yoga 15, and you can get 15% off. So I love the blue light blocker to actually put on the phone. I love the blue light blocker glasses as well, and often if I'm watching TV in the evenings, I will wear those so my eyes aren't getting affected by the blue light, which would upset my circadian rhythm, which would upset my melatonin, which I need for sleep. And the other thing I love from OcuShield is using their lamp. So once we've gone through all the routine, which I'll tell you a little bit more in a minute, and we've actually gone up to the bedroom, we put on the little OcuShield lamp rather than the big bright light or regular lamp by the side of the bed. And by doing that, I know that there's no blue light there. So again, it's not going to disrupt my sleep. It's a lovely soft light, and it means that actually it's signaling to my body, it's signaling to my mind that it's time to sleep. So all of those from OcuShield, they're a really great company. They do really lovely products, and you can use the code FACEYOGA15, all one word, so FACEYOGA, and then 1 and 5, all in capital letters, FACEYOGA15, and you get 15% off the blue light blocking glasses, the screen protector, and also the lamp as well. 3 products which I feel have made a massive difference to my sleep. Okay, so another thing that I find is really good is just by making sure that I don't watch any TV after 9 o'clock. So I need to have a little bit of an evening. It's nice to spend some time with my husband. So usually around 8 o'clock, we will put on a show that we both like. Now, luckily, I don't like anything which is too dramatic. I hate any horror, I hate any dark dramas, anything like that. So we usually watch something light-hearted, either comedy or a light-hearted film or some reality TV. And whilst we're doing that, we're chatting, but also I'm doing my face yoga as well. So I find it a really good time to do my face yoga. My skin is all clean. I've applied my Fusion by Danielle Collins moisturizing serum. So I've already got that really good glide on my skin. And then I can get going with usually 10 to 30 minutes of face yoga. So if you're thinking, Okay, that sounds good. I'd like to do my face yoga in the evening. I definitely would recommend my 7-day natural facelift course. It's only £21. If you haven't already got it, grab it because you can get lifetime access. You've got 7 videos in there. They're all around 12 minutes each, so really good just to dip in and out of and really work with facial exercise and facial massage, acupressure, relaxation and well-being. So I'm usually doing a combination of those techniques in the evening, and I also really love using an LED mask in the evening. I find it only takes 10 minutes. It's really good for my skin in terms of reducing lines and wrinkles, just generally improving the skin tone. And I get mine from Current Body. Now I've got one for the face. I had the series 1 for quite a number of years. I've now got the series 2. The series 1 is a little bit more affordable. So if you go on Current Body and you just want sort of like a starter one, I would go for that. The series 2 is just a little bit more advanced in terms of its technology, in terms of its fit. It's a little bit more expensive, but I use that one now and I love it. And I'm also using the neck and décolleté one, and I find that that's really good for helping the skin tone around my neck, which can be really prone to little lines and loose skin, and my chest area as well. So I'll usually lie with both of those on for about 10 minutes in the evening. And then, as you can imagine, my husband's very used to this now, me doing my face yoga and me with my LED mask as well. And by the way, I have a discount code for you for the Current Body as well. So you just need to use the code FACE YOGA. So it's all one word. I'll make sure I put this all in the show notes for you as well, but that will give you a discount off your LED mask. It's a really good investment, definitely something I would recommend just bring into your routine. I love doing it, particularly at the end of face yoga. And I always find with these things, because I do lots of different things to my skin, it's always really difficult to know how much of a difference it makes, but I find it really relaxing. I notice my skin looks really glowing afterwards, and generally, because of all the science behind it, it just makes sense to use it for my skin, particularly because I'm 43 now and I don't do any Botox or fillers or anything like that. So makes complete sense for me to use it. Now, a rule that I've had for myself for a long amount of time is no intense exercise in the evening. In fact, all you'll ever find me do in the evening is a couple of leg stretches. Literally a few minutes before bed, I'll do a calf stretch and a quad stretch, maybe sometimes some arm stretches or some shoulder rolls, but very little exercise at all in the evening. I do a big walk in the day every day. I find that essential for my sleep. And I was trying to think, actually, what do I think makes the biggest difference to my sleep? So if I don't do it, I therefore don't sleep as well. And I think it's my daily walk. I think it's so important to get that natural light into my eyes. I think it's so important to move my body and really just use up my energy in a good way. I think often when we feel tired because of lots of work or lots of stress in the day, we're almost like tired but wired. And actually what I think it needs to be is it needs to be tired in a really good way. You know, that sort of satisfied tired. And if you know anything about human design, I'm a generator in human design, and we need to use up our energy in the day, but use it up in the right way. And I find going for a walk is so important for me. It also helps to bring my nervous system into a really calm state, and anything which does that obviously helps my sleep as well. But I definitely wouldn't go to an exercise class in the evening. I wouldn't go for a walk in the evening. I wouldn't do any strength training in the evening. And really, I don't do much of a yoga routine. I maybe do between like 1 and 5 minutes in the evening. I'll do my yoga sort of earlier on in the day generally, unless my body feels particularly tight. So that is a sort of go-to rule I always have. And another routine which I do, which again I've been doing for years, so it just feels so easy for me now. I just automatically do it. So usually we watch TV from between about 8 and 9, and then 9 o'clock we turn off the TV, and I usually go into the kitchen and I have some filtered water, and in that water I put a magnesium powder, and then I also put a couple of scoops of collagen in there as well, a collagen powder. Mix it up and just drink it. Now the collagen powder that I use, which I've been having for many years, is from a company called Rejuvenated. Now you can use my discount code DC, so capital letters D and then C, for 10% off for this one. Now, I use the marine collagen because this makes the biggest difference in your skin. It's from fish skins, which are very, very naturally high in collagen. However, if you are vegetarian or vegan, if you go on the Rejuvenated website, then you can get their vegetarian or their vegan option. It's not quite as effective for improving the collagen in your skin, but it's still absolutely worth taking. And what I love about Rejuvenated is they're a family-run company. It's just such a lovely family. They're based here in the UK. They do such gorgeous products. And the collagen tastes nice as well, which is so important. I have tasted some really yucky ones before, but definitely would recommend that. And it's a good time to take the collagen as well, because at night it can then help my skin to make more collagen, which is going to help my skin to look plumper and firmer when I wake up in the morning. Plus I'm getting that last little bit of hydration, but also I've got long enough then for it not to wake me up, so I need the toilet in the middle of the night. So once I've done that, I usually then make myself a full glass of water, chop a lemon in half and just pop it on a plate and take that up to my bedside table. Then when I first wake up in the morning, I squeeze in a whole lemon into my room temperature water and drink that before I even get out of bed. So I'm hydrating myself. So that little habit I'm doing in the evening is making a big difference to my morning. So I'm starting off with that real cleansing through my body and that deep hydration through my body as well. So once I'm up in bed and I've done maybe a couple of stretches and I've cleaned and flossed my teeth, I usually use a little bit of essential oils. Now, at the moment, I'm using a pillow spray. Sometimes I will use just a few drops of lavender oil either side of my pillow, or sometimes I might even diffuse in a diffuser a little bit of lavender oil. So I keep it quite simple, but I just find that using a little bit of aromatherapy at night just helps me to feel calm, but also really helps to promote good sleep as well. Now, a new habit that I've got into, which let me say I was a little bit scared about at first, is mouth taping. Now, mouth taping just involves using a little bit of specific tape for the mouth. Don't just use any tape, and just simply placing it across the mouth there. I've got one that's like almost like a little cross that goes across the lips, and I put that on very last thing at night. And what this encourages me to do is breathe using my nose. Now, we know that mouth breathing can massively affect our sleep. It means we can sleep lighter, we can wake up multiple times in the night, we can feel quite tired upon waking, almost as though we haven't had a refreshing night's sleep. It can affect our central nervous system. It can mean that we're less likely to nose breathe throughout the day. And if we're not nose breathing in the day, we go into that fight or flight response, and we often do more shallow breathing as well. So there has so many benefits to breathing through the nose at night, and I have found this a game changer. I've probably been doing this maybe a couple of months now, and I just thought, you know what, I'm going to give it a try. Even though I was a little bit scared, I'm not sure what it was. It's almost like we're closing off something, like we're going to stop breathing in some way, but I had to trust that my body knows what to do, my nose knows how to breathe properly. And when I allowed myself to have that full trust in it, it's been amazing. And the nights where I either just sort of rip it off without realizing it, which sometimes I do, I find it's just on the floor or my bedside table. So I've obviously just done that at night time. And I noticed then I'd gone into the mouth breathing. I feel so tired in the morning. Whereas when I've worn it the whole night, I wake up, I peel it off, and I'm like, yes, I've had a good night's sleep. So definitely it's a habit which I am going to bring into my routine on a nightly basis ongoing. So a few other tools I love. Now, you've probably heard me talk about the Sleep and Glow pillow before, but this is really transformational for my skin, particularly at night. But I really do feel like it helps me to have a better night's sleep as well. So I've been using mine about 5 years now. My husband's been using one for about 4 years. And if you don't know the Sleep and Glow Omnia pillow, basically has little cradles at the side where you just place your face in, and it stops your skin getting really creased up. So if you've ever looked in the mirror in the morning and you've noticed that your lines look a little bit deeper, or you've got lots of random creases in your skin, now that is because your face is getting smushed into a regular pillow. Now with the Sleep and Glow pillow, your face is being cradled, so you're not actually pressing it into the pillow at all. I've also found it really good for my neck and shoulders, so I don't wake up with tension in those areas in the morning. So that has been great. Now I would say, if you've never used it before, the first couple of nights feel a little bit strange. So if you're used to using a regular pillow, it feels a bit unusual, but only takes a couple of nights of perseverance and then you will love it. Whenever I travel, I take it with me. And if I can't travel, I can sleep on a regular pillow. It hasn't sort of made sleeping on a regular pillow feel uncomfortable for me, which is really good because sometimes you just can't take a full pillow with you. But what I do find is when I sleep on a regular pillow, I wake up and I have sleep lines on my face. So it really makes me realise using this is so good, because yes, one morning with sleep lines is fine, but if I was waking up every morning for years and years and years of those sleep lines, they would eventually etch into my skin, particularly with that natural loss of collagen and elastin, which happens to all of us as we age. So I love that, use that every night. And I also use the pillow bra by Sleep and Glow. So you literally just put it on like a little bra, and it's almost like a little soft pillow that just rests between your breasts. Now I have quite small breasts, so actually I don't get a huge amount of lines between this area, but I still do get a few. And actually I didn't put it on last night, and I normally always wear it, and I woke up this morning, I had a few little chest lines, and I thought to myself, you know what, it really does work and it's absolutely worth having. So I love that. And I also love the silk eye mask as well. I find that's really good. I need a completely dark room when I sleep. So all of these products are from Sleep and Glow, and you can use the code FACEYOGA15. So all in capital letters, FACEYOGA15, 15, for 15% off all of those. Definitely recommend them. They're all good for life. That's a nice thing. You invest, but you have them for life. And talking about being nice and dark in the evening, I use blackout blinds as well. So particularly if my sleep mask might slip off, or it's maybe not blocking out as much light as I like, then it's nice to have those blackout blinds. Now I got in the habit of using blackout blinds when my girls were quite small, particularly in the spring and summer months. And they're like little pop-up ones, so you can literally put them into a really small little packet if you want to travel with them, and you just slot them in your window. So it's not like you need to get proper built-in blinds, but I find it really good for helping my girls get to sleep, even at the age that they are now, because let's face it, if you're in the middle of June in the UK and it's not getting dark till after 10 o'clock at night, it's very difficult for children to wind down. So usually about 8 o'clock in the evening, we're blacking out all of upstairs, and we're all getting into that rhythm of just winding down and just allowing our body to know it's time for sleep. So great top tip, get a few of those. I must have got mine when my eldest daughter was really young, so I've had them at least 12 years. I can't remember where I got them from, probably on Amazon, but they are just simple pop-up blackout blinds. Now I like it dark, but I also like no noise. I'm all about the cocooning. So I went through quite a stage of wearing earplugs. It's funny because I blocked out noise from normally my husband next to me, but I was always able to still hear my girls call, which I always find so funny. I think it's like a mother's built-in instinct. But the downside about wearing those earplugs was I was pushing the earwax into my ear, and then it got impacted, it got really painful, I had to get my ear suctioned, it was a whole thing. So now I only use earplugs if I sleep in a hotel, because you never know what random noises you're going to get outside the hotel. I went a couple of weeks ago to Cornwall, and I was really close to the stairwell and to the lift, so I knew that I needed to wear those because it was a Saturday evening and people would have been coming back late and it would have disturbed my sleep. And I actually slept completely through the night, both the nights I was there, so it was absolutely worth using them for occasional use. So now I don't use them. I occasionally put a few drops of 100% olive oil into my ears. That just softens any wax that's there, which is not much to do with sleep, but it's just the top tip if you are prone to earwax, just a few drops of olive oil in your ear. But what I do use to help drown out any noise, normally from my husband who may snort, particularly in hay fever season because he tends to get hay fever, I've got a little white noise machine and it sounds a little bit like a fan. And actually I got the idea of using it a couple of years ago when it was very hot and we put a fan on, because here in the UK we don't need air conditioning. I know if you live in a hotter country you'll be thinking, why are you using air conditioning? But we just don't have them here in the UK. So very occasionally when we have a heat wave, and it's probably about a week per year, we will plug in a fan, and I notice I slept so much better with that just background noise. So now I've got just a little white noise machine. It's very, very small. I just got it off Amazon and I have that next to me, and it just muffles any noise, but I can still hear my girls in their bedrooms, which is really helpful. But definitely a top tip if you've got a partner who snores a little bit. And talking about feeling cocooned, I definitely realised that is how I sleep well. And I'm now using a weighted blanket. So all my life, for 43 years, I've always used a duvet. But last year, Sleep and Glow, so you know the company I told you about with the pillows and the eye mask and the lovely pillow bra for between your breasts, they sent me a weighted blanket. And at first I thought, oh my goodness, what is this? It was the heaviest thing ever. I could barely lift it up the stairs. It was so heavy. I thought, surely this is not going to feel comfortable. But I thought, let's persevere. Let's have a night in it and see how I feel. And as soon as it was on me, it was bizarre because I could almost not feel it, yet I felt fully supported and cocooned. And I think cocooned is just the key word for it. If you've ever used a weighted blanket, you'll know exactly what I mean. It's got like little tiny glass beads in it, which is what gives it that weight. And I wrap it all around me and I get the best night's sleep. And the only downside about it is I wake up in the morning and I'm so cocooned, and even though I feel energized and ready to go in my mind and body, I just feel that such sense of relaxation. I don't want to get out of bed, but I really love it. And you need to use the code FACEYOGA10 for 10% off. And a little tip actually, I mentioned earlier about the code FACEYOGA15 for the pillow and the pillow bra and the eye mask. If that doesn't work, use the code FACEYOGA10 because that's like an evergreen code. So if you listen to this or watch this at another time, use the code FACEYOGA10, FACEYOGA in capital letters, number 10, and that will always give you 10% off whenever you buy anything from Sleep and Glow. And a couple of other things I do before we wrap up this episode. So I always have a chamomile tea in the evening. I also really love the pucker nighttime tea. I usually have that about 8, half 8, and I find that helps to really calm me down. Also, if my mind is racing, particularly sort of business ideas or that type of thing, I might do a little bit of journaling, and I'd probably say I only do that maybe once a week. It's not a regular thing, but it just allows any ideas from my mind just to go onto paper, and I know that I can just sleep through the night then. I also try and have my last meal around 6 o'clock or 6:30 if I can. Very occasionally I'll have a little bit of fruit or a few nuts in the evening, but generally I'm not eating from about 6:37 until usually 7:30, 8 o'clock the next day. So I'm doing about 12 to 13 hours without eating, and I find that that really helps me sleep because I'm not too hungry to go to sleep, but also I'm not too full that my body is trying to digest all this food, because actually what it needs to do is it needs to repair and renew my mind and my body and my skin at night rather than try and focus on digestion too much. So that is definitely a top tip that I use. I also just don't drink caffeine or alcohol. Now, this is something I gave up about, how many years ago now? 22 years ago, when I was 21. And that's because I was diagnosed with a chronic illness, and it's one of the things I used to heal myself. And I never started drinking alcohol or caffeine after that again. And this really helps because although drinking alcohol in the evening, we think it gets us to sleep better, and often it does, the quality of sleep is really bad. So we're never going to be able to sleep as long, we're never going to get as much deep sleep, we're never going to get as much REM sleep. So it lulls us into that false sense of security. Plus it gives our liver lots of detoxing to do of the toxins from the alcohol rather than do everything else it needs to do at night. And also caffeine is a stimulant. So I don't have caffeine apart from a little bit of hot chocolate, which I'll usually have in the morning. And I would say if you are a coffee drinker or even a tea drinker, stop by lunchtime, because it really can stay in the body up to 8 hours, sometimes longer. It's really going to affect your sleep. And I'd say that just generally anything which reduces stress helps me sleep. So if I've had a stressful day, or I'm upset about something or angry about something, my sleep's never going to be as good as if I feel relaxed. So I try and bring in lots of mindfulness into my day, yoga, meditation, relaxation techniques, and this really all helps me to sleep effectively. I hope you've enjoyed this episode. I hope you've enjoyed watching it if you are watching on YouTube, and if you're listening to it as you usually do, I hope you've also enjoyed it. I'm recording this in my bathroom today. Normally I will do this in my house studio, but I thought, why not? I was set up for filming today anyway in my bathroom, so if it's a little bit more echoey than usual on the audio, that will be why. But hopefully you've still enjoyed the episode, and if you have listened to this, please rate and review it on Apple Podcasts or wherever else you listen to it. And if you've watched it on the YouTube channel, please let me know how you found watching this solo episode, and let me know any ideas for any other solo episodes you would like to watch and listen to. Take care. Bye bye.